Welcome back, guys. It's time for another quick and dirty game. And this is actually, there's been a bit of a time skip here. This is actually the next season, and this is already the finals of the next season. So, regular viewers of this regular channel will see that it is a rematch. My very last coverage was against Dantes in the semi-finals or whatever back then, and guess round 3 actually, quarterfinals, I don't know, but this is the finals in a very stacked tournament. Actually, there's a lot of big names participating in these quick and dirty tournaments, and Dantes and I have made it to the finals. And if you remember, Dantes himself said he wasn't so much of a two-player specialist, and if I maybe had some advice for him, so that video was a bit under that guise. And let's see if he has stepped up his two-player game and can give me a old two-player veteran an honest challenge. So yeah, let's start with the game. You already see I chose the Acropolis here in a start that I guess heavily favors the second player, because there's 3 extremely good cards. There's Hammurabi, Engineering Genius, and the Acropolis. And it is very unclear what's the best pick, I think. The Acropolis has a bit of a reputation in two-player that it's, some call it just broken. I wouldn't agree. I think it's strong in the right setup. And in the right setup, borderline broken. But in a lot of game states, I would say picking Hammurabi would be the better choice, maybe. If there are other wonders here. If there are good H1 wonders. But we can look here. So there's still 2 good wonders, but they are not yet in the row. And there's only one H1 wonder, which I consider very good in two-player, which is Forbidden City. Machu Picchu is good if you have extra civil actions. Otherwise, it leads to corruption too much. And Forbidden City is okay, but it's really hard to build with this 6 rock step. So I wouldn't consider it too good. Yeah, so overall, I think the Acropolis is very good if we just look at this, and then we see, okay, there's Bach, there's Dietrich, there's Shakespeare, this entire setup here, even Darwin, this entire setup here, Fleming, no Hollywood, no internet, but still, this setup screams Culture Fest, and in Culture Fest, Acropolis is borderline broken. So that's my pick, and he still gets a start where I think I'm not ahead just by picking this. I would choose second player position any moment in this setup. Hammurabi Engineering Genius is probably his pick, and it is his pick. It even puts Confucius on 2, and now I have to consider if I want to spend 2 civil actions for him, and I don't want to do it. I think Cleopatra is decent value, gives me a rock right away, and having extra rocks for buildings and the wonder is maybe a bit extra synergy with the Acropolis. So I'm willing to play her instead of Confucius for 2. And I do start with the philosophy here. Don't ask me why, it's gut feeling. Most of the times I did consider starting with the mine. I think sometimes the lab is better, and I can't really explain why I think it's better here. But probably because of the Acropolis, just maybe that's it already. I remember I thought if I'm lucky, I get a green event that I can see to get some extra rock and still can use her ability next turn also, but I wasn't, so yeah. So let's see. We see 2 yellow HA cards. A mine being built and population. Yeah, here already I would advise against these. I think it's very close actually, because it's also a value that he generates. But civil actions later are worth more. So the next turn the civil actions are already worth more because there's probably H1 cards lying around here. And he could just be a little inefficient and take this wonder for 2. Maybe he prefers the pyramids a lot for some reason and wants to wait for that. Maybe there are reasons for that, but I think between those wonders, it's very close in general. And I think in 2-player, maybe the library is a bit better because it produces culture, and culture income is just a little more important in 2-player. But yeah, not the hugest fan of those yellows. But I think it's actually close because it's still it is value, and it is the somewhat more efficient approach. If in the next turn he doesn't have a better use for the civil actions, say he just uses them to grab a yellow card from 2 civil actions, then it's the same efficiency wise. And I don't know how that will look. Yeah, but generally not a huge fan of the HA yellow cards in turn, what is it then, 2. And here I go with the mine, I go with the drama. It's for 2 civil actions. I don't have anything better to do really. And it's just an extremely good drama game here with Bach and Dietrich. And Shakespeare, of course. And since I really don't have anything better to do, I could populate. But I think this frugality allows me, in some cases, to populate twice next turn. So I stay out of consumption and take the frugality instead. Dantes goes for the library, so the pyramid was not the argument. And builds to stages, yeah. And goes for the printing press, which I like. It's an insanely good printing press game. He has not built a philosophy yet. He chooses to go for the wonder instead of the printing press. Instead of the philosophy. This is definitely the correct approach here. Next turn he can build the printing press and finish the wonder, thanks to the urban growth. So it already kind of worked out with the yellow card. On the other hand, it kind of didn't work out because there's a key tag for 2-player. And that's Code of Laws. And especially with Hammurabi, it's one of his strengths. I think you always want to grab it for 3. I mean, yeah, okay. Then you don't take printing press here. And then it's probably already very close. I already took the drama. I would still be happy with the printing press, I guess. Then my turn would also look pretty good with the printing press. But yeah, it's close. I think this Code of Laws is just so important. But between this early printing press timing is pretty important in 2-player, I feel. Getting this thing early versus late makes a huge difference. And is it worth not taking the Code of Laws for 3? Hard to say. I seed something. Yeah, we have to bear with the fact that I will probably not be able to look at this too closely. Development of politics revealed. And I get the Code of Laws for 2. Populate and build a stage of the Acropolis. I can't use Frugality, otherwise it would be corruption, which is a bit annoying, but it doesn't... I can still populate next turn, so... Yeah, I cannot take the first copy of Irrigation. That tech might be a bit more important in 2-player than in 3-player, 4-player. It's kind of annoying if you miss out on it and then get blocked on food. But on the other hand, in most cases, you kind of, even if you get blocked on food, you kind of manage somehow. Food block somehow doesn't work in 2-player that well. I mean, there have to be cases where it's good, but in my experience, they are very rare. And yeah, getting blocked on food, there are just so many things that you can do to circumvent it, like ceding territories, which are then very asymmetric value. Yeah, I keep the strategic territory here. So this cartography will be gone. And there's a Suez Canal in the game. I mean, gone from me. He could take it now for 1. But I'm willing to wait that information whether he takes it or not. And if he doesn't, I cede it. Because I also have a card here. Yeah, and here's Hammurabi. He draws maybe some cards less. So let's see how this turns out. I draw meaningless cards, more or less. I don't think I'm ever going for this tactic in this setup, unless he's starting to get aggressive. Development of Science is revealed. And we indeed see the aforementioned turn. Printing press finishes the 1, and now he has 2 civil actions left. Let's see. So with this Suez Canal in the game, I think taking this cartography in hand has value, because then it's kind of hard for me to start seeding colonies. And if he has colonies in hand or draws them, he can then seed them. So I think it would have some value just to take it in hand. And as an option, not necessarily develop it if you don't have the right, if it doesn't align, right? If he doesn't see draw colonies, if it doesn't look like I seed colonies, which is just harder for me to do if he has it in hand, right? So in a game state like this with the Suez Canal, maybe it's a good idea to take it in hand. And then there's just Irrigation, of course, and on Knights. Knights, I'm not the hugest fan. He already has a printing press build. Yeah, let's see what he decides. Irrigation and populate. Did he have to populate? No, he didn't, right? He was out of corruption already. Yeah, the irrigation, and that's obviously efficient. I'm happy actually that he didn't take Knights without a reason. Yeah, but I think taking the cartography in hand in this game state is a good idea. My turn. Development of crafts is revealed. I can go for the Code of Laws. I can populate. What was it? Twice? No. Oh no. I finished the Wonder. Populate. Take Breakthrough. Yeah, that was a weird order starting with the drama. That got me out of the rhythm a bit. But I guess I didn't have anything better to do with my last selection, and somehow I started with developing drama, but I didn't build one. Okay, we did see the strategic territory, seed the strategic territory, as we witnessed. Draw uncertain borders and cultural influence. Yeah, events like uncertain borders are a little interesting in a game like this, because that's one of those aspects of the Acropolis. This gives one strength, and why it's better in 2-player than in 3-player, 4-player, because this one strength makes a huge difference. Because as we said, the game state here screams culture fest, and no one even wants to build a warrior, honestly. And then all of a sudden, you can very low effort put an uncertain borders in and win it just like that. And obviously this complicates things, so all of a sudden people do want to build maybe one warrior and play a fighting band, so very low effort gets stronger than the other guys, so you don't always just lose to those events. And then it's not that obvious if you want to play it with the Acropolis. Yeah, but that makes the Acropolis just so much stronger in 2-player, because that one strength is a huge difference, and in 3-player, 4-player, not so much, because everyone just builds 2 knights, 2 swordsmen, or something like that anyway. Okay. So, yeah, I'm actually curious. I don't actually remember what I do here with this Uncertain Borders. Development of Agriculture is revealed. And Dantes goes for Saladin for 2, which is understandable. I have a leader that's actually kind of good. I would argue if you can use the rock pattern with her, she feels not that much weaker than a Confucius. Yeah, a bit weaker, but not that much. It's good value. It's good value. And I would still swap to Saladin, who gives the civil action, and the civil action should be in most cases worth more than a rock. Yeah, so spending 2 civil actions for a very solid leader here, very understandable. What are my choices here? I can still go for Chichka, who's already in the row. Michelangelo can work sometimes. And then there's Columbus, Eleanor. I think I've mentioned it last game, in a game with the Suez Canal. I value Eleanor, maybe the best leader in the game. In H1. And of those 4 options, if I don't draw a tactic for Chichka, which I haven't so far, I think I would heavily prefer Eleanor if it's possible. Yeah, let's see. 2 civil actions for Saladin, I agree. It's probably... It's kind of hard to say, because... okay, Saladin isn't that much better than Hammurabi for him. Yeah, it's 1 draw more or less. Hammurabi also some card holding things which are a little bit irrelevant, but... And then with Eleanor here, with Chichka here, maybe with Columbus here, who might be not as stable as Saladin. Yeah, he's a very stable leader, but maybe they have a higher ceiling. And maybe in 2-player you want to be greedy and not take Saladin for 2 here. Yeah, but I don't condemn it as a wrong play. It's a solid play. It's a very solid play. What I'm trying to say is maybe you need to be more greedy in 2-player sometimes. So... if he doesn't touch the row, by the way, which is probably very absurdly hard to do and not recommendable, I would need to take Iron for 2. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend not taking any card here. I would actually maybe recommend just going for Iron here. Let's see. He does take Swordsman. Doesn't want to do nothing for the strength. So yeah, that makes Uncertain Borders less playable. And he also goes for Swordsman. The event also, the deck just flipped, and he did it, yeah, exactly for the case that we discussed, right? I sneaked in an Uncertain Borders. I sneaked in a foray, a border conflict. All of a sudden, if he does nothing, he's very behind. So, am I a fan of those Swordsmen? Not really. Can I understand why he plays them? Yeah. Is it correct? Maybe. Kind of hard to say. Yeah. In 2-player, you want to experiment maybe sometimes to just say, okay, whatever, I'm gonna lose some strength events. Let's see if it's killing me. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is he could have had an engineering genius now in hand. He could have already upgraded an iron. So that makes up for a lot of things. Maybe not for an Uncertain Borders that he loses right now, but yeah, you get what I mean, I think. It's a little too safe, maybe, the Swordsman? Maybe not. I don't know. It's close. Strategic theory is revealed and I lose it. Although I even could build bit 2 and I revealed it on my turn, but he had more defense cards than me. No, he had the swordsman, right? There it's also an argument. It's good for colonies. He had the swordsman. He wins the strategic territory, which is really pretty nice for him. He draws some more cards, but also those 2 strength, as discussed with the Acropolis strength, those 2 strength are just a big difference in a 2-player game. So I also didn't, of course, after he went for Swordsman Seed Uncertain Borders, I happily went with, what was it, Cultural Influence. Yeah, I'm probably starting to build drama now, use the extra rock, take both irrigation and iron in hand. He also has the irrigation in hand, so both set up for that. I also get the EG for 1 and I have to populate and build a warrior myself to get out of corruption. Yeah, I would probably not build it if I didn't have to avoid corruption. If it avoids corruption, that warrior is okay. I still have some people that I can put in urban buildings, and there's this good harvest, I think, which I seeded, probably. Dantes goes for Bread and Circus. Is somewhat afraid maybe of rebellion, immigration. I went for drama after all. Takes breakthrough, takes iron. Populates again to get out of corruption. Builds a swordsman. He could also just upgrade 1 and would already be stronger. Yeah. This Bread and Circus reveals the fighting band. Wants to be really stronger. Wants to stay stronger. So even if I do something for strength now, it's hard to get stronger than 6 for me without attack. Legion would mean I could do it, but Legion would mean I had problems here, maybe. Anyway, that's what he did, and there's no Pierre de Coubertin. Yeah, this Bread and Six just, I think I already mentioned it sometimes. I'm not a huge fan of this card in 2-player, even if Coubertin is in the game. Since this setup screams Culture Fest, you want to build operas and dramas anyway. Shakespeare gives an extra happy face. Dietrich gives an extra. Dietrich gives all the happy faces that you want later on, and there's even Chaplin. And if it's a game state where it's somehow important to fix happiness, then there's the H2 solutions, which are just better. The team sport's just better than Bread and Six. I mean, sure, if he doesn't see the rebellion and there's a rebellion, maybe you lose some games because you lose for civil actions. But overall, if you lose, how likely is it for me to see the rebellion if he hasn't seen it? Something like, I don't know, how many cards do you draw of this? A third, maybe? Even a fourth, maybe? One fourth of these? Yeah, not the third, definitely less. Then let's say it's like 30%, 25%. Not even, right? So if taking Bread and Circus is a very bad move, which I think, which only saves you in one of, let's say, 4 games from a rebellion, yeah, then it's overall a bad move, right? And you can also, if you are really afraid of a rebellion, losing your entire turn to rebellion, you can just build a religion. That religion produces culture. And you can upgrade it to operas with Bach. So, yeah, instead of this Bread and Circus, probably like iron upgrades already, or another printing press already. Yeah. Probably. But after all, His his spot looks good. So during the game, I thought it is very open because he does have his printing press. He could just be like it's in two player. Okay, I'm kind of spoiling that I'm winning this game. And he again asked me for advice. So that's the entire premise of how I talk here. But during the game, I thought he played quite well. During the game, especially such a game, I don't look that closely at the turns of my opponents. I just look at my turns, obviously, what my options are, and don't evaluate did he do the perfect play or not. I remember feeling like he played well. Like this entire setup is good for two player. With the printing press, not that obvious for a 3-player, 4-player specialist that it's good to go for that. And he was kind of greedy. But I also remember feeling like maybe there are some small things that are not that perfect. And something like taking bread and circus in hand is just not a 2-player thing. Leave it away. And your turn is a lot better. And nonetheless, it did win it, but it wasn't that obvious. It is still going to be interesting to watch. You don't need to go away now. I mean, you can do what you want anyway, but it's still interesting to watch, I think, to see how it turns out, because I do think he played well, and yeah, we will focus a bit more on advice for him. That was a bit of the premise of why I even record it, because it is an interesting game. It is the finals of the quick and dirty, and maybe I have some advice for him. And one of those is, yeah, just as a general rule, don't take Bread and Circus in 2-player. It's a bad card. In such a setup, it's a bad card. There are some games where what I say is not true. That is always true for TTA. There are no absolutes in TTA except that absolute statement that there are no absolutes. It's a paradox, right? Saying there is no absolutes in TTA is an absolute statement. So in most cases, Bread and Circus is wrong, and the cases where it's good is where you do have an Insaniac who has Caesar and built 2 medieval armies and pushed maybe 4 strength events, and then you think, okay, let's contest it. Maybe that will just win the game if I win those. And then just take a printing Bread and Circus and have that extra strength and 2 Epiphase. Of course that's good then. But here, no. Nothing says Bread and Circus in this game. Okay, I think I've talked about this Bread and Circus for 10 minutes now. Let's move on. I do take Illinois here for 2. If I had territory in hand, I might settle for Columbus. Probably, but as I said, maybe even then not. Because he doesn't have the cartography. He also has only 2 MA, and she draws cards. And even if I had something like an inhabited territory, I might still go for Eleanor, saying, okay, I will be extremely well set up then for the Swiss, even after his strategic territory here. Eleanor, just so good into player. I go for her. I build another theater, and again, an interesting order of events. I develop irrigation, and then I build the theater. Yeah. I'm already at 7+5. That's the thing that I meant is timing is important in 2-player. If you're just 1, 2, maybe even 3 productions ahead in culture, then it's a lot harder for the opponent to play the game, I feel. I mean, the flip side of it is you shouldn't be too upset by it. Sometimes, I don't know, you need to have, for me it's a little intuitive. You need to evaluate, is it bad that I'm behind in culture? Can I catch up later? Or is it already so bad that I maybe have to focus a bit more on the military actually? And generally, by the way, in a game state where your opponent is Acropolis with this, that's maybe one general thing, is that you do want to threaten Always, you always want to threaten your opponent to be wary of military, because if the Acropolis player doesn't have to do anything for military and doesn't have to be afraid at all, he is quite far ahead, I would say, actually, in a game state like that. Okay, we move on. I did seed something. I think with Eleanor, I will always seed, even maybe not in uncertain borders, but what did I seed? Crusades or something? I don't know. But I think it was a strength event, right? Right? Yeah, I think I had to. I wasn't that happy with seeding strength events, but drawing cards with her, it's like, let's say I lose a Crusades, I lose 4 culture, he gains 4. I already got 3 culture or something by seeding that. Yeah, so it's not that bad a deal. And I can still maybe plan to win it somehow efficiently. Yeah, that's part of the equation. So we see another printing press, iron upgrade, cultural heritage. Turn looks good. I see another event. Reign of Terror is revealed. I lose it. Deadly Eye the guy. And here's a strategy for 3, which is yeah, more or less an auto pick here. Even with low science income, I think I'm very afraid of him taking a strategy here. And I'm very happy to have it in hand. This card makes a huge difference in such game states. I remember it from the TTA Pulse Blitz days, that any high level player would not spend any second on thinking about it, and it was always, oh, strategy, okay, instantly the turn is over and the strategy was gone. And yeah, that's just how good this card is in 2-player, and especially in such game states. I go for the food before the iron. Yeah. And I draw inhabited territory. I don't know if it was possible maybe to go for iron first, but yeah, somehow it was easier, or it turned out that I upgraded food first here. He's a bit annoying here, actually. Or in some cases I can't defend. I only have 2 MA, so he goes for the plunder. I appreciate, what is it? I agree. Sometimes you just want to check for those. Yeah, maybe it's not a good turn, actually. Like, it's not the best turn to waste this MA. But I think in game theory, sometimes you want to do this check. And then in the end, yeah, you have to have a balance for that. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. And more often than not, you probably don't want to do it, but yeah. We see, yeah, probably the being afraid of immigration or more the rebellion. So the printing, Branded Circus being built. Maybe also the reason why he didn't want to, or why he went for the aggression. He didn't want to cede into a possible rebellion, and it gives him this extra strength, which is a bit annoying to deal with. If he has another aggression in hand, then defending the next one is a bit harder already. Then we see a rich land, which is a good card. Cultural heritage plate. Yeah. I already see that he, I think, has adopted a little, in the sense that he is more greedy. Yeah, he has this printing press. He doesn't take this knights. Yeah, maybe you can think about the monarchy here, but also H2 started. He has good signs, and going for he has 5 civil elections. Going for H2 government is probably a good choice. On the other hand, I already have the strategy. He doesn't have warfare. So Republic, while being an extremely good card, is not maybe the best option for him, because as we discussed, you kind of want to be able to threaten the Acropolis player with military. And with 2 MA, if he gets a Republic, I will never be afraid of anything. Especially with the strategy in hand, which is admittedly lucky just for me that it dropped. Yeah, but yeah, let's say if the Conmon drops for him, that's extremely good. Not going for this monarchy because the Conmon is that much better, obviously. But if it doesn't, and he has to settle for the Republic, then I'm not afraid, and I can be extremely greedy. I don't even need to do anything then for military, because with 2 MA you cannot win the game, military-wise. You cannot threaten anything, yeah? So maybe in this game state, the monarchy is more or less mandatory even. Maybe even the theocracy with Saladin. Then you don't have to build this bread and six. You play with theocracy and go for justice system, and then an H3 government, which is something you might want to contest anyway against an Acropolis player. You want to be maybe set up to contest an H3 government, because if this Acropolis doesn't crumble and the Acropolis player just puts out a democracy for 8 signs or something, chances are you lost. So you want to be able to take it for 3, and then if you want to take it for 3, it's better to also want to play it and not to just deny it. So this government, I think, yeah, the more I think about it, this is one of these governments is kind of mandatory in this game state. Yeah. I guess. I see it. I don't want to see it apparently the inhabited territory yet. Ah yeah, because there's a Suez Canal and now I'm already set up to build it, and I don't know what happens to a navigation, so just better keep it in hand. So I see the other thing, which I yet don't know what it was. You guys have more information about these things than me. Obviously, it's already been a day ago that I finished this game, so you cannot expect me to remember these things. I go for another lab, because I need science income. That's one of the nice things also about the Acropolis. You can build a 3rd lab, and probably, yeah, I do go for the theocracy here. I don't want to go into this gamble where, yeah, who gets the H2 government is ahead. That's like 50-50 in this game state. I'm happy with being solid here. The theocracy does everything I need. It gives me that military action. I even prefer it over the monarchy, which would give me another civil action, but I'm kind of happy like this. And this is the setup for H3 government, or even a late H2 government, or mid H2 government, depending on what happens until then. The H2 governments are also very cheap with the Acropolis, so this is just too efficient, too good to go for this theocracy. I still have a lot of options. You still need to consider an H2 government. In most cases you don't want it. You want to go for the H3 government later with it and hope not to lose it to Ravages until then. I also get the Masonry in hand, which is kind of nice for all those buildings I still want to build and for the wonders I want to build. The Suez Canal Transcontinental Railroad, especially the Suez Canal, is something I'm looking for with the setup. And yeah, there's a Shakespeare, but I'm not actually prepared for Shakespeare. I know, right? I don't know how it turned out like this, but somehow I didn't take the printing press the second. Didn't work. Wasn't possible, apparently, and now he can just go for Shakespeare. We see rebellion. Maybe he seeded it. Or did I? Maybe I seeded it. I don't know. Goes for irrigation, builds an irrigation, takes efficient upgrade, takes rifleman for 2. Yeah, I understand. He doesn't want me to get stronger that easily. It takes away a lot of tactic options. And I can actually look threatening with the strategy and a right tactic. And still, I guess, in 2-player you need to be a bit more greedy and not take these riflemen for 2. Is there anything else you can do? You can still upgrade one of those and take a wave in hand, which is also extremely nice. Yeah, I would say. There's been game states where I've done this. Yeah, on the top of my head, I remember a game where I took rifleman for 2. I didn't have swordsman, but I took rifleman away from Weidenbaum. Somehow anticipated, if he has a classical army in hand, I lose if I don't take this. And it was correct. Here, yeah, in hindsight, everything I say is also hindsight talk, obviously, so it's a lot easier for me. It's kind of hard to evaluate. I would feel like these riflemen for 2 are wrong. Upgrade this, or upgrade more of those, take wave. Yeah, upgrading one more of those would mean being able to populate. Like this, not able to populate once more next turn. Then there's Suis. Yeah, I mean, okay, if he has no colony in hand, Suis for 4. Not possible here. Not possible. Yeah, Shakespeare, I think it's correct. He doesn't have to take it now. There is this off chance that journalism drops, and then I have the option to spend my entire turn for this. Take Shakespeare, take journalism for 3. But in a state where then there's just Bach, Darwin, and that's also good. I would absolutely agree not having to take this for 2 civil action here. That is correct. I reveal an inhabited territory, which is something he seeded, I think. Yeah, depending on when he had that, that's some information I don't have, obviously, but depending on what cards he had, we can look back again to the decision cartography or not. And yeah, if he maybe already had the territory, then even more. Taking the cartography in hand would have been pretty good. Yeah, but his swordsman decision is a bit more coherent in hindsight, right? Because swordsman with this tactic is very potent to go for these territories, and he does win it, right? So he gets the inhabited territory, but he has to send both. It's still correct, I would say. It's also maybe a bit unlucky that it's on my turn, which means, yeah, he has to bid both. Makes it expensive. It's probably correct. I take the Suis for 4 here. Yeah, maybe another thing you want to consider is leaving it here, so I would have to spend 5. Making the rifleman even more awkward, maybe. Yeah, but I spent 4 civil actions on this here, and then I just start it, and if I see that correctly, it is so cheap that I can finish it next turn. Yeah, that's it's one of those weird things about the Swiss Canal. You can fix everything. It's a bit weirdly designed. I like it. I like the idea of the wonder. But I think it's a bit too cheap for the high ceiling that it has. Like, it is a wonder that does nothing in some cases, that is reasonably strong. Already, if you have like one crucial colony, like I'm taking it here with Eleanor, and with this one inhabited, I'm already willing to do it. And then it's already reasonably strong. Yeah, it gives you 1 rock and 3 happy face and 2 activations, 2 population civil actions and food. And if you compare that to the Statue of Liberty, for example, it gives you 3. It's more expensive, a rock more expensive, yeah, less civil actions, but it costs 12 rocks. It gives you just 3 yellow cubes and some culture income. And the rock income early on is arguably better than that culture income, which is conditional, right? So in a lot of cases it's that, but then there's just so many cases, or there's, I don't know if it's so many, but there's these cases where it's just absurd. It's absurdly strong, where you just win the game because you have the Suez Canal. And then it's a bit weird, in my opinion, that it's only 11 rocks. And especially with this EG1, you have a lot of scenarios just like this, where I don't even have iron, where I can just finish it after taking it. Next turn. Because of the EG, yeah. And then somehow it didn't matter that I didn't go for iron all this time. I get the wave for 1. Extremely valuable card, by the way, in 2-player, I would say. Maybe a bit more than 3-4, because it's a bit harder to get the full value in 3-4 player. Then all of a sudden it's in a lot of cases only 4 rocks or something, then it's not that good. But here it's just 6 rocks. Yeah, and I do draw wealthy and developed territory. Now I have die Qual der Wahl, the choice to make, which territory I want to put in there. I'm not entirely certain what I decided. Pestilence is revealed. We see Swordsman, Iron upgrade, take the cannon, take Shakespeare, upgrade another iron. Architecture's attack you might always want to consider in 2-player, or I would say in general, because it has insane value for building wonders, for building all those buildings that you still want to build. So I would always take this architecture in hand here. But we do see Shakespeare. I agree heavily. That is a good timing. Apparently I didn't even need it. I win this vast, which I think also he seeded, right? Right? Just for a warrior, I would have also spent 2 warriors, very likely. But I've also got my 2 colonization cards here. I can send 1. And develop masonry, EG, finish it, and go for the developed. I seeded the inhabited, went for the developed. The signs, the blue cubes, the yellow cubes, maybe. I think I heavily considered wealthy territory as well, because I do think those 9 rocks and the 4 blue cubes are extremely good, but I think every wealthy territory turn ended in corruption, so maybe I was forced to do the better choice anyway with the developed territory. Which allows me more easily to go for the strategy here also. Tying me in strength, I'm not getting stronger, but it's a card that I want to get out. Yeah, in almost any case here. Crime Wave is revealed. I lose some culture blue cube. Third farm, frugality for 2. Swordsman rebuild. Yeah, patriotism looks good in my book because lack of MA. As I said, being able to threaten some military. He already has a good setup for it also, right? Cannons, swordsman, if he draws a tactic. And having some extra military actions can go a long way. What he does nicely here is put those cannons here. I have cavalrymen in hand. It will be very expensive for me to take those cannons. And frugality for 2, yeah, I don't know. Might also consider journalism, because that also can still be a good card for me, but I don't actually know if I have time for that. And it would be more of a denial. So a bit unclear, or rather correct not to take it. And yeah, also, of course, he's also just unlucky. I have to admit, of course, here that none of those dropped, and especially Conmon. If the Conmon drops, I think he's looking very strong, actually. He can still go to an absurd amount of culture income with Shakespeare, and then with the Conmon, he's safe from my potential strength shenanigans and can even threaten himself. But it doesn't drop, so I'm just with this decision to go for Theocracy, and with all the things going for me, I'm just ahead here. I did draw a seed, the Wealthy Territory, Civil Unrest revealed. And, as you see, no tactic, by the way. As I decided to just build 2 cavalrymen. With all those colonies in, they are good to bid. And I think it's one of the rare turns that avoids corruption and does something for strength. I don't want to start losing those strength events, potentially. Those potential strength events. But I'm actually super greedy and not take Ken for 2. I kind of remember that every Ken turn ended in corruption or was super... I don't know, didn't feel good to have to spend 2 civil actions for Ken. And then especially, actually I thought, like this, if the Conmon doesn't drop, he kind of has to go for this Republic. And then I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid, so I can skip the cannons, which is something I wouldn't recommend to do in 2-player too often. That's a tactic. That's a card that you kind of want to have. I mean, I'm kind of suggesting the Hussars. I don't have them. This tactic is also just absurd. Those single technology tactics. I'm sorry, Vlada. I love your game, but those tactics suck. They aren't good. Actually, you know what I would think? I would think it would be a little more interesting, or a lot more interesting, tactic-wise, if every tactic could be fulfilled only once. So you can have 1 Hussars and 1 defensive army and so on. And then you could have multiple of those, you know? You can have multiple tactics activated with multiple constellations, but each one only once. That would fix the single tactic. Then you would have 1x4 bonus and it's fine. And you can't just say, oh, I have to never develop another thing again and I'm ahead in military. That's my suggestion, Vlada. I'm sure you see this. That would fix tactics. What do you think, guys? I think that's a very good suggestion. Yeah. But I don't have the Hussars here, and I don't draw them. I draw the other, the other absurd tactic, the more absurd tactic, but I didn't take cannons, so yeah, the H2 is almost over. I can go for rockets if it comes down to this. But he indeed does go for the Republic. I also think it is correct. He can still go for military theory. Or maybe it is actually not correct. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Kind of hard to say. He does the correct thing here. Go for opera, Shakespeare. But navigation, maybe in the game state, maybe navigation was still also pretty crucial. But he couldn't do everything. He couldn't go for opera and navigation. He couldn't go for... yeah, he could maybe go for Republic and navigation, but then not for opera. And that's also kind of bad. Yeah. After Cold War, I think I remember I seeded that. And that's also a bit why I built 2 cavalrymen. Because I didn't want to give him the 6 signs for free. Because it looked like a huge swing to contest this 6 signs. Yeah, for me, you see, 6 signs is a lot. For him, it's also a lot. Still means this potential for for H3 techs, governments, and military theory. Everything will be easier with 6 extra signs here. So I do go for the navigation even for 1 civil action. I get Bach, which is absurd. I get this super good transition turn with Eleanor. You have seen the control I had on the deck with Eleanor. This I didn't repeat it too much, but maybe you had the feeling for why I consider Eleanor to be extremely good in these games. It's all the cards that I've seen. In the end, I did draw some tactics even. Yeah, there's some games you don't draw a tactic. And these things don't happen with Eleanor. They almost happened here, but in the end, they didn't. I have 2 tactics, not the one that I need here. I already skipped cannons, but I found all the colonies. I found a lot of events. You just need to, if you play Eleanor, just need to be brave or stupid or both, you know, and just seed some events that are bad for you sometimes. It still creates a ton of value. And in the end, I was able, for example, wasn't happy to seed this Cold Wars, but in the end, I was even able to win it with all the strength that I cheated here somehow. I decide to still go for the iron. It taps a bit with corruption. It also, was only at 5, still go to 6. Not a lot more important things to do right now. Could just take Rev ID for 2 maybe, but I think going for this iron is still good. I even see still draw this autonomous, so the good draws continue. Weighty territory revealed. I have all these defense cards. All Eleanor. This is all Eleanor. And maybe luck also. But you force your luck with Eleanor. I have to still witness a game where it doesn't look like this when you play Eleanor. I still have to witness it. So I think it's all within reasonable amount of RNG for me. And this wealthy territory is obviously absurdly good for me here. Maybe the best. Maybe a lot better even than the other ones. I did also go for those refugees. I seeded them. I am willing to lose them, but in the end, with all this cheated strength, I didn't lose them. And this looks kind of good, but Dantes doesn't give up, and here we see Shakespeare, yeah? He goes to plus 19. If we look, I'm at plus 16. I'm for now maxed out. He goes to plus 19. He's for now maxed out. And now it's about a H3 government. And there's a communism. And I think you have to take that. And I think he doesn't. Yeah. If you upgrade, you need that communism. I mean, of course, you want the democracy, but you need to hope that the democracy is late, that you can go for the communism, for your next pair, and then take it away, the democracy, and maybe the fundamentalism. And like this, you can't go for the next pair. You would even have had the signs. This is an efficient turn, obviously, but like this, I'm not maxed out anymore. I can just another territory, which I didn't seed, I think. He also seeded some territories into this. That's ill-advised, I guess, at some point. But I still had the defense card. I do take communism. The rev idea is luckily here. Rebuild 1 cavalryman, take patriotism. I don't care about Air Force. I don't care about this modern infantry too much for 3 civil actions, because he has only 2 military actions. If he had more military actions, I would all the time have to consider, do I need those modern infantry? Do I just die if I play without a tactic? Do I need to take this Air Force away? But like this, I don't need to consider any of those. Although he has this holy trinity of H2 tags, which if he had MA, I would be afraid of. Yeah, I would have to be afraid of, because then you can very efficiently, in a lot of cases, go to, I don't know, 30, 40 strength. And that can be enough. He would still have to do this, but then you can kind of very efficiently, instead of building a wonder, you spend something like 15, 16 rocks for some units, and then with the right constellation, you are at I don't know 30 strength, and then that war is always possible. Like this is not possible. Ah, got rid of the bread and circus. I'm glad to see that. Go for the extra opera, and then yeah, here sometimes you just need to now get rid of that guy. I mean, you also want to draw cards, fair enough. It feels bad to get rid of the swordsman, but that's that would put him to 28 income. And if we look, yeah, it's not impossible. It's just because he had to get democracy for 3 now, since he didn't get the communism last term, although maybe he would still have to pay 3 civil elections to take it away from me, but it puts the wonders like this, and both of these wonders are not worth that much. We have like right now 12 culture spaceflight maybe, or 15, and this will always be like 20 culture. But he couldn't take one in his turn. What was his last selection now? Take sufficient upgrade for multimedia upgrades. Yeah, the idea is good, right? Maximum greed now. Since he can't do anything here, maximum greed, culture income. But that involves also being able to build a wonder in the end. And those are the last wonders that give some culture. If there was a Hollywood here, instead of this Manhattan project, I would say he has a 50-50 to win the game in this game state. Yeah, who gets the Hollywood wins. I cannot take these things because the Hollywood will be for him. He can very efficiently still build some multimedia. Maybe then it's like 2 multimedia, 2 printing press, 4 operas. There's Fleming, Dietrich, Chaplin, all the guys that helped to build a 50 culture Hollywood. And after his turn, he's at, what was it now, 99, right? He is at 99 to 132, but he produces 9 culture more than me. And he still has potential, right? He can go up to 30 culture income. I can only go to like 20 with my drama setup. So, even with all the things going for me, I make it maybe sound like he played like a noob. He didn't. No. He would win. I think some viewers might get the wrong impression here. It's really the sum of small things that especially since he did ask me again, which I try to pry on here. It's the sum of small things, but even then, it's in a winnable game state here for him with the right conditions. Like even now, I wasn't like during the game thinking, oh, this is obviously one. I did feel like I'm ahead, but I did see this, and I think even with good impact draw, and if I don't draw good impacts, he just can win this game even without the wonder. Maybe. Yeah, again, sum of small things. Inhabited territory, he does get that. I did not have enough defense cards this time. Oh, actually, I was kind of happy that he had to spend this amount because there's also an autonomous now still. I do get the spaceflight, which will give. This doesn't show it, right? It is in the end, I think something like 18 culture, but it's the only one that's left that does anything. So I'm willing to spend this selection more, and I'm not willing to take any of those leaders. I can just do it next turn. Yeah, Dietrich would maybe be the best, but Fleming is more or less the same. I can also still go for multimedia. I'm also very sometimes I miss vocabulary. It's fresh that I draw this impact of colonies, but he also has 3, so it's not like that absurd. But I continue to hit here in this regard. He does take Dietrich, which makes him safe. He actually has to be a bit afraid of my military potential, although I just don't have any. I did take the modern infantry in hand, but I don't have any tactic options. Maybe the, what is it called? Shock troops I could do. even without the modern infantry, the non-modern, the outdated version, and like this, even the modern version. Strategic territory, also something he seeded, and I'm able to win it. And just draw extra defense cards. Fleming, I go for movies. Can upgrade 3 dramas to movies, which is then some extra culture potential after all. The autonomous revealed, I also get that. Yeah, too many things going for me. I think he has the right approach here. Overall with the Shakespeare and going greedy here, but yeah, I also discussed probably has to somehow create a game state where I have to be a bit afraid of his military potential, and like this I'm not. So the end is very smooth for me. But I thought during the game I was still wary of his culture potential. I still had to finish this game cleanly in H3. In the end, I also had good impact draw. He didn't. And it is almost 60 culture difference, but it didn't feel like that during the game. As I said, culture draw a bit different. He gets the Hollywood, and then obviously all the things that I've discussed, some of smaller things are result in this. That's 2-player for you. The game is just a bit different than 3-player, 4-player. It's the zero-sum game. You have to be more greedy. And on the other hand, still understand when a military potential threat is important. Yeah, there are some top players which are experts in this. Martin Pischer comes to mind, who also understands when to be greedy, but he also understands when he has to go for this military all-in. And this military all-in can still win against maximum greed. But the greedy approach is the more stable and better one, because in these game states sometimes you don't win with military even by winning 2 wars. The opponent plays Shakespeare and you say military all in without any culture income, and the opponent has like something like 150 more culture than you towards the end, and then what do you want to do with 2 wars? Not enough sometimes. It's already happened. Everything already witnessed. Yeah, okay, that was the game. I thought it was interesting, and I was motivated to do it because he asked what went wrong. And I was like, I don't know. I felt he played well during the game, and now I've seen, as I would still say he played well. Yeah, don't get me wrong. And it's just the sum of small things, these 2-player games. And then also, just without a hesitation, I will admit I had a lot of things going for me. I mean, these things I get going for me may be easier than it had to be, because maybe he didn't do the right things to play against it. Yeah, but I don't know. Sometimes it's also just the fact you cannot win every through the ages game. Sometimes you just lose because the opponent out RNGs you. Yeah, so maybe that was the case here, to more extent that I make it sound here. Yeah, it's also possible. So okay, I think that's it for today, and see you in another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Any moment now I find the record thing. Bye.